Perfect. There we go. Brad, do you have any hot topics you want to
I
start?
I could talk about a dumb mistake I made this morning. How about
Yes,
that?
please.
Yeah.
That's
I
always good.
was working on a remix project, just something personal, and I found that the my tests were failing, and I was like, "Why are my tests failing?" And it looked like my tests were selecting something from the Remix Dev Tools because it has like a nice
Oh,
little overlay on your website to show
uh-huh.
you like, information. And I was like, "Why is this not like why is this showing up? I'm running the production build, like what's going on?" And I went so far as to like tweet at the creator, like, "I don't think this is working right, man." And like 10 minutes later, I found out I was running the dev server in another terminal, and my end-to-end test suite was just using the dev server instead. So classic
Didn't that
Monday
feel good?
morning mistake, except for it's Wednesday.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
That's funny. And then,
Yeah, that was my morning.
don't you love that? Like, or if you've reached out to somebody with support and then you have to like backtrack and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, user error."
Yep. Yep. I mean, and I followed up with them too. Never mind, I'm an idiot, so people know.
Oh, funny. I was trying to think. I was just queuing everything up on the back end. I am so one of the things that Redwood has is we have a tutorial that has been probably our primary driver of content. And we're getting ready to rewrite the whole thing. So I'm creating a whole new project to do the tutorial. So the old version, it creates a blog, which is kind of old school. And so the new version, I'm kind of excited about this. So and it's going to be a job tracker, except usually when you see tutorials from that perspective, it's an employer tracking applications that have come through. At least I feel like the general tutorial space that I've seen. And so this one's going to be a different spin. It's going to be from an employee perspective. So if
That's
I'm applying
awesome.
for jobs, how do I track that through the system? And I think one of the things that I'm excited about this is we're going to make the scope of the tutorial nice and tight. So it's like really just learn the bare minimum. I think, the one that we have right now, it just grew because it was like, oh, we need to teach everything about Prisma and we need to teach everything about Storybook and just been
Yeah.
adding in all these things. So we'll keep it the scope nice and tight. And then we're also going to create like add-on projects. If you want to add AI on your project, then there'll be a separate guide or a separate tutorial that you can use to build off that core product. So I think what I'm excited about this idea is you can really build in a lot. Like you can say, oh, AI, help me write my cover letters or help make this unique to this particular position. And then maybe share out an individual link just for that cover letter or that position.
That's awesome.
So I think it'll be a good app. So anyways,
I
fun
would track
times.
that in a giant spreadsheet. That's how I've done it every time.
I use Notion. So
Yeah, Notion, exactly.
yeah.
What about you,
Awesome.
Nir? What have you been up to this morning? Or is it even morning for you? Where are you
Whew.
coming from?
Yeah, well, it's evening currently. I'm in Tel Aviv.
All right.
Is that crazy
It's
there?
well, currently, well, define crazy.
Well, we've done episodes
Define crazy.
before with people there, and there's like sirens going off while we're recording. We're like, "You okay?"
Yeah, no. So hopefully this episode is over, and quiet days are coming.
Yeah.
So we're all looking forward for peaceful days. So yeah,
Yes.
nowadays it's quiet.
Good.
Yeah, for me it's a beginning of the year kind of. So all the annual planning and all that, and like sorting the teams and like sharpening the vision. So I feel this is like my main topic the past days.
A lot
Yeah.
of big, long meetings to make these big, sweeping decisions.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have to do oh, maybe this is a better question for later, but do you have to do all the budgeting and everything?
So no, I work at Wix. We are divided into specific companies, and each company has its line of business.
Okay.
So we have our developers and analysts, UX designers, and we have our goals and we try to achieve them.
Nice. I'm excited to talk about this stuff. This will be super fun. Okay, I tell you what, let's go ahead and go live because I'm afraid I won't be able to help myself. Awesome. We'll go ahead and start the show. And if you guys have comments or questions, go ahead and stick them in the chat, and we'll go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Compressed FM, a podcast all about web design and development with a little bit of zest. In today's episode, we have Nir he is the head of product at Wix Studio. We're super excited to talk to him and everything that they've planned for the upcoming year.
Web development and design, who would have guessed? Well, we can do them both, even add a little zest. So turn up the volume, get ready for the best. Let's get it started in this episode of Compressed.
Hello, my name is Amy Dutton. I am a lead maintainer on the Redwood JS core team.
Hey, y'all. My name is Brad Garapi, and I'm a senior front-end developer at Stripe.
And as I mentioned, today we have Nir. He is the head of product at Wix Studio. Welcome.
Hey, guys. So happy to be here.
Awesome.
I think one of my favorite questions to kick off like shows like this is, how do you get to be head of product? Right? I'm just like a developer slowly moving up the chain. How do you wind up in this awesome position at a company like Wix?
First, Brad, you get older. Okay?
You don't look that old, though.
Yeah, you're looking pretty good.
Well, I'm getting there. I'm 40 years old.
We're the same age.
So, yeah. So old, yeah, everything is relative. So I feel like just time went by. I still feel like the young guy at the blog, and like, but apparently I'm not anymore. So I have the head title next to the product manager, but I'm still product manager at heart. And also as a product manager, it's always gonna be the same job, right? Do product.
Yeah. Now, How is that transition for you? Because I know a lot of people, when they go from individual contributor to manager, it's a struggle because a lot of times they're leaving behind the work that they love, or the work that has gotten them to where they are is not going to be the work that's going to continue to get them into the future.
Exactly. Like at the end of the day, I go back home and like, what have I created today? Sometimes you need to like remind yourself, oh yeah, you gave that tip and that advice, and yeah, it's a hard transition, but I'm trying sometimes to have time to do some hands-on work, and I think that the best way is just to keep close relationship with the users and customers, and then you feel close and you close the loop. So that gives me like the excitement and the reason to go to the office the next day.
Yeah. So how do you have your team structured?
So I'm working at Wix. Wix is already a big company, around 3,000 employees.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and we are divided into companies. We call it companies within Wix. Each company is in charge of a specific line of business or product or line of products. So we have our resources, we have our team, and we have our goal. So currently at Wix, I've been with Wix for the past 6 years. Currently, I'm in the Wix Studio company, Wix Studio editor company, and we're in charge of the new editor that we released a bit more than a year ago.
Awesome. Now, kind of going down the tree, like for example, I've worked on teams before where they call them triads. So I'm the designer on the team. I'd be paired with a UX researcher, a UX writer. And so like we would be a design triad, but then we would be part of a larger triad that also has an engineer and a product manager on the team. So do you have a similar layout, or how do you structure the actual work that gets done?
Yeah, I think it's the same idea. Each company, like my company, we are just restructured ourselves for 2025, and we're divided into 8 teams or squads, like the Spotify squads with all disciplines, and each squad is in charge has different goal. Sometimes all of them kind of affect one another, But yeah, each one just goes as quickly as they can.
Mhm. Now, are you setting like KPIs and goals, or do those come from your boss?
Oh, that's a good question. So we work in we have this annual planning where we set our goals, and of course on the company level. So our CEO Avishai Avrami sets the goal for the upcoming year, and then all the groups trying to understand what they need to do in order to uh, promote and support those goals. And yeah, and regarding the teams themselves, it changes. So it depends on the group.
Mhm.
I gotta say that because we work on a creation tool, which is the editor, where designers design their websites on. So all the flows, there's no one flow that you're trying to optimize for, because there's so many ways and steps to complete in order to get to a published site. So all of the teams within my group kind of focus on the same KPI, which is making more users create more sites.
Mm, that's a good one.
Yeah. Can you give kind of like an overview of what Wix Studio is for those not familiar?
For sure, and it makes sense that you're not familiar with because we're a pretty young product. So Wix is an 18-year-old company. Started at the begin with, and this is our DNA to allow users to create their sites for their selves, DIY users, and empowering small businesses that don't have the means to actually hire a professional. And as the years went by, became much more than an editor. We have so many solutions for online presence and how to run your business online. We have business verticals and CMS solutions and marketing solutions of all sorts. But it's been many years that we've seen that big chunk of our users and of our business is not actually DIY users. Actually, we call them partners, but they're professionals who build websites for their clients. Many of them started as DIY users or maybe students. They enjoyed creating a site, and then, hey, maybe that would be my business. And more agencies and freelancers join Wix. So a year and a half ago, we launched Wix Studio, which is an offering tailored for professionals, for agencies, for freelancers. And in the heart is the Wix Studio editor that is tailored specifically for them.
Sweet. So this is like a web-based application. So Wix Studio runs on a website?
Yes.
Awesome. And then what kind of stuff does Wix Studio do? Does it do everything from HTML, JavaScript, CSS? Can you just drag and drop things on there? Yeah. How does one actually go about designing a website there?
Yeah, so drag and drop, this is like the heart of the experience of Wix. So Wix Studio is the same, and our users love it. But they also have like a very high control of whatever they need. They're all the panels that you would look and you would expect to find in a professional design software. So we shape this new editor to be very much familiar for designers and also very attractive for developers because Wix has robust code solutions. We call it Velo. And so you can, whatever your client needs, you can create on the website. And if you're stuck with someone, you can add code layers to solve any business need that you might have.
Awesome. And so I guess you're saying that you're allowing for like custom business logic code to be inserted wherever you need it to be.
Correct.
Cool. And so like if I'm coming from the developer perspective of things here.
Yeah.
And so like if I wanted to write code while inside of Wix Studio, what kind of like editor do you have for that?
So we have a few experiences. First, you have an IDE that inside this, like next to the editor, you write page code. We also have VS Code solution that you can work on. You recently also introduced an AI assistant that it could help you. So the paradigm at Wix is that we try to wrap everything so designers could, as quickly as possible, create whatever they need, and then if they're blocked, they can bring in components from outside or write their own business logic. Many of the freelancers who work on Studio actually hire another specific when they need a code solution, they hire a professional that writes their code, or big agencies, they just do it all together.
That's amazing. Like I love that you give people that kind of control, that it's, not just like, here's your website, drag and drop, because I've been on the end where I'm like running my own company. I have like my own little mini agency, and I create a website, but like either trying to train the people that I hand it off to be able to update the site, or like there's also a balance between like, you don't want them to go in and mess everything up, but you also want to give them the freedom to make the changes that they need. So that's amazing that you guys offer that within Wix Studio.
Right. Many times what the agency needs is that the client could actually update the website themselves. It depends, of course, how the agency works. Many of them have work on retainers, so they actually want to. Depends on the budget of the client, of course.
Mm-hmm.
They want to do it themselves. But yeah, because the heart of Wix is that we came from the DIY market, so we have many solutions for the client that easily, even if the website is super complex, they can update the content, update the CMS, even like create new sections, new pages on top of what was already created. So there are many layers of control.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the features that you guys have in the works that you're really excited about? Can you talk about them?
In the works currently?
Yeah. Or I tell you what, we can even start, if you want to start a current feature that you already have, and then maybe move into a feature that you're excited about. That's fine too.
So a feature that I'm excited, we just launched it recently, and I'm excited about, we call it Visual Sitemap and wireframes. We met many agencies and try to understand how they work with their clients, and many of them start with the structure of the site. And they go to the client, interview them, or maybe the client fills a form with a few questions, and then they go and they draft a structure of their site. So we try to make it into a product. That's what we launch. The client or the designer themselves, they fill up few questions, and then with AI, we give them a draft of suggested structure, and then they can play with structure, add sections, add pages, change the content, and then if they like it and the client approves, they can go ahead and continue with their creation. And then we can also, if they want, they also have wireframes also picked by AI of the layout that we suggest, so it really bootstraps their creation.
That's awesome. I had an art professor in college that told me that I should not, I didn't end up going to get my master's, but he said I shouldn't get my master's in art. I should get it in information architecture. And it was like the same degree that a librarian would get, which sounded strange at the time. But when you're talking about structure, I mean, that's really how people interact with your product, how they think about things is I need to go to a website, find the information. Is it structured logically in a way that I can find what I'm looking for? So that's awesome that you guys have elevated that and created a tool to enable designers and agencies to be able to do that.
AI has been a huge talking point for us on the show lately. Every episode seems to kind of like devolve into some discussion about all these different applications for it. And it's cool to hear that you guys are integrating it into the product. I'm curious, do you have any other integration points for AI in Wix?
Oh my God, don't get me started. Yeah, it's like all the CEOs clips that you see on YouTube where they cut the, oh yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, we are genuinely excited about it. I think all of us, everyone who works in tech, it's like we're living in this revolution. It's maybe the biggest tech revolution that we experience in our lifetimes. The older and the younger in the audience, and it's exciting because every problem that you encounter, you should ask yourself whether it can be done better with AI. Sometimes the answer is no. Like keep doing what you were doing, but sometimes many times the answer is yes. And also here there are few levels. Sometimes you need to expose in the user experience that it's actually an AI, right? When you say AI, you mainly think about chat interface, but it's not always the case. Many times we just use AI behind the scene to just get better results or more efficient flows. So yeah, we have, back to your question, Brad, we have so many AI initiatives and features, from generating text, generating images, fixing up images, AI assistance for code and on your business side of things. And in Studio we have also another like responsive AI that we launched Studio with, and actually help us solve one of the biggest problems that our users have.
That's awesome. It is everywhere now, both in the like writing code space. But I think I really haven't heard of too much of this in like the design space, or kind of getting into the artsy stuff. But that's not my domain at the end of the day. So
Do you, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. All you.
Well, I was just gonna say, do you have, oh yeah, you go.
Go ahead.
This is the awkward behind the scenes. This all gets edited out. So we'll have AI edited out. I was just gonna ask, you mentioned AI generating images and things like that. Do you also have AI generating layouts where you just say, oh, I need a price chart, and it just drops in a price chart?
Yes. So at the Wix editor, which is the DIY focused editor, you can actually the flow. You can actually user can just go there. They have a very friendly chat experience. They ask them some questions, and then about their business needs, the brand, the layout, what are their goals, and then it starts drafting them while they're typing, drafting them a website with text and images and layout and themes, and then it's a great starting point for users. So you don't have to start your journey this way. You can start from design templates that our design teams have built. But yeah, we see that users love it because they play with the product. It's very, very friendly, and the results are getting better and better. Wix in its heart is a design company. Like many of the employees are designers. So what you mentioned, that you need to make it beautiful, it's something that we strive for. And it's hard with AI because you need to train a model, and then you need to start looking what are the results and whether they meet our standards or not. But that's what we're trying to do. I think we're doing pretty well so far.
That's awesome.
I know I'm on mute. I know we talked about existing features in Wix. Can you talk about any like upcoming roadmap items or like things you guys are thinking about that would be exciting to talk about?
So we're experimenting with so many features in the AI space. There's nothing specific. I can mention that this new sitemap and wireframes feature that we recently launched. We see how users communicating with it, using it, and so we're planning many new enhancements there, following the feedback that we get. It's always an interesting question, like professionals, how much they want their outcome to be designed. And that's what we play with, like in terms of the experience, is how you give them when they need, give our users a quick outcome that looks great and follow and answers their needs, but you keep them in full control, so they can complete any test that they want by themselves. So the AI should be like I don't know, the young intern in the agency that can help them to do all the tasks that they don't feel like doing right now, but not taking over their creative process.
But
Can
yeah,
you
for sure.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. We're not in sync today. I was gonna say, could you share some examples of maybe somebody that's either used some of these tools in a way that surprised you? And you're like, oh wow, that's really cool.
That surprised me. We're always surprised by our users, because we look at all the websites that they create. So let me think of a story like regarding an AI feature. We're just surprised by like when it's the same with design templates that our designers build. So it's kind of the same, right? You go to the AI, you ask them, they create the structure, and then you have a layout. And then our team, we're looking at the new websites that were published the day before, and we try to guess which one was based by a template that the designer at Wix designed, which one was actually initiated from the AI process, from the structure and the wireframes. And many times we are wrong, because users are so creative, and it's very hard to understand which one was based on what. So these are surprises.
I'm scrolling around on the Wix Studio website here a little bit, and I'm finding features that I did not know existed. There is apparently like a widget marketplace. Is that true? Like developers can build widgets and then put them on a marketplace?
You're talking about the app market?
Yeah. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. So Wix has a very robust app market where developers build their apps on top of Wix. And then they actually, and they can also sell it through Wix. So it's a very nice revenue stream for developers. For sure, it's a big part of our business.
Yeah, that's awesome. We have a lot of listeners and viewers and ourselves like to work on little side projects and side hustles and stuff like this. Always excites me to hear about it.
Yes, well, that's a great idea. Guys, go to the Wix app market and build your apps.
Aside from AI, do you see like other trends and things, whether that's in the app market or outside of the app market?
Trends in the web.
Yeah. Or, I mean, it could
world?
even be, we could even talk about design trends. That's kind of interesting too.
Design trends. So I'm not a designer. I'm surrounded by designers. So I get all the trends, and I wear nice shirts for work because I see them at the corridors. And Wix is always been like we're trying to pack those design trends as quickly as possible and to hand it to our users. So many times we just it means just publishing a new component that users can just drag and drop from the ad panel, add it to the stage, and it's already performing whatever they'll try to achieve. So whether it's like text effects and all the movements and scroll effects and click and hover and endless animations. And we know that our users love it because it also helps them to understand what are the trends and easily to play with it and to understand if they want it, if it actually fits the project or not. So we keep coming up with these components, and that's very, very unique with Wix. So you can build everything from scratch, or you can use our components, pre-built components.
That also makes it really easy to iterate, or even just to create prototypes if you're trying to get a client to look at something and see, does this match what you're looking for? That's awesome. I think also that just sets you guys up above competition. Like I think about I won't name names, but some of the other companies that I feel like are in that same space, I don't think that they offer those same features. How often are you looking at what your competitors are doing? Do you let that influence you, or do you just let the users and user research and user interviews drive the product?
So the latter, much more than the first one, because the first thing that product managers learn at Wix is to talk with your clients.
Yeah.
Before even data and all other things, just talk with them, meet them, talk with them, understand. It sounds very like rule of thumb,
Mhm.
but it's very much in our DNA, and I think it shapes our product.
Yeah.
So before we look at competitors, we ask them what they want. We see how they interact with our users, and yeah, competition is like always has been at this space. Very very interesting. We see so much amazing initiatives also for in very very small players,
Mhm.
specifically now with AI. There's so many new paradigms that are being sorry, new paradigms that yeah, something in my throat. That's always my voice, but
You're totally fine.
um,
We edit all that stuff
so,
out, so you
so
don't have to worry about that.
okay. Sorry for whoever listeners on live stream. Where were I? So there's so many paradigms that people in this space are working on, and it's very exciting. Actually, we like playing with technology and with web designs. Of course, it influences us, but that's not what drives us.
Yep. You've mentioned user interviews and things like that several times. How do you guys aggregate your user base?
How do we aggregate the user talks?
Yeah, like so I've worked on products before where some of the things we've done is we've had pop-ups come up on the site to say, "Hey, we would," or I've even gotten emails. I got one from Apple the other day. It was like, "Hey, we love your feedback. Will you answer this questionnaire?" So I know that's one way. Or one company I worked at, they were offering gift cards. If you'll sign up for a 30-minute interview, we'll give you a $50 gift card. I've been both on the interview side of that and like the person giving feedback side of it, just to see like how do you conduct your interview with this other company. So that part of the process is always fascinating to me.
Right. So at Wix, as I mentioned before, we like to just talk with users to come up without any agenda and to listen to them.
Mhm.
Um, and that's when you try to put it inside your product. So sometimes you're prone to mistakes because then you write a question and you kind of lead the witness,
Yes.
and then because you ask about a specific flow, and so maybe I don't know, they just imported their Figma design into Wix Studio, and then you ask them, "Hey, how was the creation? Rate it from a scale from 1 to 7." So I'm not against it, but I think much more effective is to call this user and, "Hey, I'm Neil from Wix. Do you have 30 minutes to talk with me about your experience?"
Yeah.
And then to listen to them. And sometimes they will talk about something completely different that then you understand, okay, I actually need to solve this pain and
Mhm.
not the flow that I just asked them about. Um, yeah.
You also get body language and intonation when you're actually talking to them, or if you jump on a video call. It wouldn't come through if you're just filling out a form or a survey. Yeah, so that's awesome.
Exactly.
And what about like data-driven solutions? I know, talking to users comes first in the Wix kind of way of working, but do you guys do any kind of like A/B testing or monitoring of like how often features are used on the website? And do you take that into account?
Yeah, obviously. No, I feel like data, like all companies look at themselves as data-driven companies. So I didn't even mention it because, of course, it goes without saying. Everything that rolled out at Wix, almost everything, is in A/B test. Depends, of course, on the volume of the traffic. Sometimes we just roll out features, the feature toggle. So it's not an A/B test, but mostly we do run A/B test, and we learn so much from it. Um, yeah, and it completely that's the way the way we do stuff. Yeah, I came before Wix. I came from startups, And at startups, you cannot actually run an A/B test. And I always wanted to work at a company that I can actually have millions of users and run these A/B tests. So it's a great tool, but I always go back to basics and think that if you're there are things that you cannot A/B test. If you want to do a huge strategic move and a huge change, sometimes you cannot A/B test it. Also, A/B test is based on data, so it's based on the past, on what happened, and sometimes you need to calculate the future. So when you run A/B tests, you always need to ask yourself whether you're asking the right questions and if it's really needed.
Yeah, for sure. Good point. Data can lie in some cases, for sure. And it's
Well,
also easily influenced by, let's say, bots and scripts and all sorts of other things that can happen on the site.
Well, here's an interesting example of that too. So I was working on a flow for a company in fintech, and we were trying to test a shift in our branding. And we sent out a survey. We didn't talk to people directly. Sent out a survey and asked them which one they preferred. Well, then you're leaning into user preferences, which is questionable sometimes. But then we also asked them to describe adjectives that they would associate with each of those like branding shifts. And what was interesting was the one that they preferred did not line up with the adjectives of what we were trying to evoke. So when you're talking about fintech, you want to invoke feelings of trust and authority and confidence. And so the winning design did not have those adjectives. It was the second place winner that had those adjectives. And so we ended up going with the second place winner, even though it wasn't necessarily the preference, it was the branding and the feelings that we were trying to evoke. So there's so many nuances when it comes to user research and interviews and things like that.
Wait, I got to know, like, what were the adjectives that described the first one?
Oh, I don't even remember. It's probably more like bold and colorful and, whimsical.
Fun, yeah.
Like, we like that, but that's not in line with the branding and the core of who we are. Yeah. Let's see. Brad, I have a few more questions if you're
Go for it.
Yes, let's see. Okay, so this is gonna shift just a little bit, because maybe kind of going back to earlier in our conversation, we were talking about how you became the head of product. For somebody that is wanting to get where you are, what are some of the things that they can do in order to follow kind of that career path? Like, what advice and recommendations do you have for them?
My first advice would be just start creating. For me, it worked. I actually majored in film. And
Did
while I
you?
was a student, yeah, and while I was a student, me and my boyfriend back in the day, now my husband, we just created, he's a developer. I was a student, film student, and we created an app, a very small iPhone app for the shared bicycle scheme that was just launched in Tel Aviv. And I fell in love with the process. And I actually designed it. I remember I exported it's pretty embarrassing, but actually I'm proud of it. I exported all the assets from PowerPoint.
Yes.
I
Nice.
wasn't a
Yes.
designer, and it worked. It's like SVGs. So if you're into it, I started going to hackathons. Just met developers and started building. I had ideas and just started creating them, and that's how I rolled. And so my hobby became my profession, and now I'm invited to podcasts. Only my second, but still I can say it now. So just build stuff.
That's great. I actually have my major in college was radio, TV broadcasting. So I appreciate that. And I think, in a lot of ways, it's been to my advantage, the fact that all these different mediums are converging. There's so much video on the web when you're talking about marketing or, trying to explain things to people. A lot of that does come down to video and different mediums. Let's see. Here's another good question. So one of the things that you're talking about with Wix Studio is that you have these different components where people have control And then they also have the ability to customize. So where do you see the balance between customization and consistency and providing people that freedom? Like, how do you help draw those lines?
Yeah, so we're trying to pack everything as you said at the beginning. The DNA at Wix is like no code, low code solutions. Because even for developers, like just dragging a component and it works, it's magic, and it's for many use cases, it's just a great solution. So on one hand, we try to pack all those components for very usable and friendly experience, but then you're limited to the UI that our product and UX and design team have decided upon. So the other end is just add layers of code and do whatever you want. So on top, for example, Wix Studio, on top of these all those packed components, you can write custom CSS. So it overrides all the other decisions, and it's like magic, like the pure CSS magic, where you have all the control that you need.
Awesome.
Oh, talking about like CSS generation, what kind of like browsers do you guys want to support? And do you think about mobile at all when you're, generating and creating these websites and templates?
So we support all major so we support all major browsers for sure, because the clients of the agencies that we work on browse on all the major browsers. So for sure, we are always aligning ourselves with new features. In terms of mobile, for sure, this is the main. We know that most of the web is actually consumed in mobile for many years over desktop. And it's a bit tricky because when you design a website, still also the professionals, they start with desktop and then they go to mobile, which is also something that we can think about. I see you guys nodding. And specifically for that, we try to come up with a solution that designers can build the website on the desktop breakpoint, and then with a click of a button, we call it responsive AI, we responsify the desktop, and then we generate a first starting point for the mobile. Because as you know, it's a lot of work, and it's one of the tedious and hard work when creating a responsive website.
Yeah. And in that same vein, has Wix ever thought about doing like native apps, whether that be, iPhone or Android apps?
We have.
Oh yeah.
Wix has native apps in Android and iPhone, specifically for Wix and also for Wix Studio. Users can manage their websites. You don't design the website on the native app, but you can add content and manage your business. And there's lots of controls that you can achieve. Our users love it because many times you're on the go and you need to do something for your clients, or they just do it on their iPhones. So for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any kind of like business software, when you're viewing it like that, if you're earning revenue or like you need to check your analytics or something, needs to be available at the tip of your fingers. And actually, that reminds me, analytics is probably a good topic to go down as well. What kind of like SEO tracking does Wix offer, the website authors to see how things are performing?
So we have a whole solution for SEO. Then also like a whole flow that recommends our users what they need to do in order to enhance and improve their SEO. It's something that's very, very much important for all our users, both the DIY users and the Wix Studio professional audience. So many times this is the main goal when they come to Wix. They tell us the first thing, we want to get found on Google. So that's what we do. Soon it will be get found also on all the chats, but that may be a topic for our next session.
Yeah, and what like is that information surfaced on like the like the iPhone app as like a graph of like users per day or something like that? Can you see your analytics over time?
Yeah, for sure. Users can see all the analytics. They can do it on the website and on the app. It's very exciting. Small businesses, they every purchase, they're like excited. They want to hear the kaching, and also big agencies, they want to see how well their clients' website perform.
Are you good, Brad?
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
everything I got.
Sweet. Well, before we go into the last section of the show, do you have anything that you want to add that maybe we didn't ask about, but you'd still like to talk about?
No, I think in the beginning I mentioned I said 3,000 employees, and I'm just like, it's 5,300.
Okay.
Wow.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it felt too much for me at the beginning. I'm like 3,000. Yeah, no.
But you said you've been there for 6 years, so you've seen growth, I'm sure, over that time.
I know when I joined, it was like I think 2,500.
Wow,
So
that's
it
awesome.
doubled, more than doubled.
That's great. Cool. But we can move into the next segment of the show, which is our picks and plugs section, where we pick something that we like and we plug something generally that we've worked on. So, who wants to go first?
Nir, you got anything?
Well, pick.
It doesn't have to
I'm
be
not
tech
much of a-
related. It can be
Was
anything.
that? Yeah. So I'm not much of a TV person. I don't watch much of TV because I don't know. But when something is good, it's good. So now I'm like so deep into Severance season 2.
Are
Just
you?
love the aesthetics. Yeah, the aesthetics, the eerie concepts, and also the fact that I trust them that there will be answers. And that's what I want. I want if someone takes me into a journey, I want them to have answers and good answers. So I trust them, and I really enjoy that.
Did you ever watch Lost like years ago?
That's exactly why I stopped watching Lost. Exactly, because I understood. I think I read an interview with J.J. Abrams, and
Uh-huh.
he said that his most profound. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I remember. His most profound memory in childhood that he got a present of a box with a question mark, and then he opened it and there was nothing inside. So and then I understood why in Lost anything could happen and you'll never get answers. So I'm more on Severance type of guy.
Well, when you said you needed answers, that was what my first thought went to, was because that's a show that was like you're always trying to figure out what's going on, and I mean that explains it. There's not supposed to be a hard to find answer to it. Oh man, what a good show!
Awesome show.
Do you have a plug? It can be Wix Studio. It can be your social handles.
So I know your audience is mostly developers, right?
Yes.
So guys and girls, go to wixstudio.com. We worked so hard on that. We're very proud of it, and build the website of your dreams.
Yeah.
With code if you want. Do it.
Awesome.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, and also sounds like there's some opportunities with the marketplace and building applications and things like that. So that's awesome. Brad, do you have picks and plugs?
Yeah. In the pre-show, I, didn't want to drag Remix DevTools through the mud. It was totally my fault, and it's a tool I've been using a lot lately. And so I'll plug, or I'll pick, I guess, Remix DevTools. Instead of like running back and forth to your terminal to look at all the logs of your loaders and actions, it shows it right in like this cool little pop-up pane on your website. It'll tell you what route you're on. You can even see this really cool tree of like routes in your app. Pretty neat. And it's all built by one dude. So I think that's really cool too.
Awesome.
And it's soon becoming React Router DevTools. So like Remix DevTools is going to stagnate, and then we're going to have to jump over and use React Router DevTools, which is a port of the exact same thing for React Router. And my plug, Feynman Blue Sky.
You're still
As
gonna plug
always.
that.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to plug.
That's so funny. So for my pick, I've picked before on previous shows my AeroPress for coffee. A huge fan of that. I think I've picked the Prismo filter for it. Huge fan of that. So it's kind of like the next piece of that. I'm going to pick a frother. And so I have a milk frother, super cheap. It's like $10 that I got off Amazon, but it makes all the difference when you can froth your milk that you put on top of your coffee. So I basically treat the AeroPress, even though it is coffee beans, I almost treat it like espresso. And so then being able to put frothed milk on top is just literally the cream on top. So it's good.
I'm still on my no coffee kick,
Are
and I'm
you?
so close to being like, whatever, dude, I'm going back.
I was thinking about that the other day, and I thought, I would give up Coke before I give up coffee.
Oh, I mean, I gave up whiskey, so it's been a weird year. Just like no coffee, no alcohol. It's been an interesting experiment.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Nir, thanks again for joining us today and talking all about Wix Studio and just your role as the head of product.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Awesome.
Us too.
And if you're listening on your podcatcher of choice, please leave a rating and review. It helps other listeners find the podcast, helps us get other great guests like Nir, and helps us also find sponsors. So for now, that's all we've got. Awesome. So that's goodbye one. Thanks everybody for hanging out in the stream and the live. We always appreciate that. And we'll catch you next week.
See you, chat.